The Ramayana is typically introduced as an ancient Sanskrit text of 24,000 verses. But beyond the poetry, it is a record of a grueling expedition, a trek across the subcontinent that transformed a prince into a leader. The journey begins in the northern capital of Ayodhya. Desperate for an heir, King Dasharatha performs a powerful fire sacrifice. The offering yields a miraculous result: the birth of 4 sons, led by the eldest, Prince Ram. Ram's education is swift. He travels eastward to the kingdom of Mithila, where he is presented with a legendary test, stringing the divine bow of Lord Shiva. He applies so much tension to the weapon that it shatters in half, securing his marriage to Princess Sita. He returns to Ayodhya as a celebrated hero. With a sharp mind, unmatched archery skills, and deep devotion to his people, Ram is positioned as the perfect heir. The capital eagerly prepares for his coronation, but royal successions are rarely ever that simple. The night before the ceremony, a palace servant named Manthara convinces Queen Kaikeyi to cash in 2 ancient, unfulfilled promises from the king. The demands are devastatingly precise. First, Kaikeyi's own son Bharat will take the throne. Second, Prince Ram must be stripped of his royal status and banished to the wilderness for 14 years. Confronted with the sudden loss of his future, Ram doesn't resist. He honors his father's word and walks away from the palace without protest. In this moment, he chooses duty, or dharma, over personal power, a choice that will dictate every action he takes for the next decade. Ayodhya is left behind as Ram, Sita, and Lakshman move southward into the unmapped Dandaka forest. They establish a quiet camp in Panchavati, but this isolation makes them vulnerable to a deceptive trap, a mystical golden deer designed to lure the brothers away. The diversion works. With Ram and Lakshman drawn into the deep woods, the demon king Ravana strikes. He abducts Sita, mortally wounding the great eagle Jatayu, who attempts to fight off the aerial assault. Finding the dying bird and learning of Sita's fate changes the exiled prince. His posture as a passive victim of royal decree vanishes. He organizes his grief into a relentless drive to find Ravana. The safety of the palace could only teach political theory. The chaotic depths of the forest forced Ram to confront the reality of the world he was born to protect, setting the stage for a massive conflict. Ram pushes even further south into the rocky terrain of Kishkinda. Here, he navigates local political strife to forge a critical military alliance with the Monkey King Sugriva and his powerful warrior Hanuman. It is Hanuman who manages an impossible leap across the southern sea to the island fortress of Lanka. He locates Sita, delivers Ram's Ring of Hope, and then sets the enemy capital ablaze to prove the reach of his king's wrath. To launch an invasion, the army faces the ocean itself. Under the direction of the engineers Nala and Naila, they construct the Ram Setu, a bridge built from floating stones, spanning the treacherous waters all the way to Lanka's shores. This traditional painting illustrates the scale of the ensuing war. The battle in Lanka is a bloodbath. Lakshman is struck by a lethal weapon, requiring a mountainous transport of medicinal herbs to save his life. Slowly, Ravana's generals are dismantled by the invading forces. The conflict eventually narrows to a single duel. In a fierce, protracted battle, Ram exploits a critical vulnerability in the Demon King's defenses and strikes Ravana down. Ram arrived in the wilderness with nothing but his bow and his brother. He left having united disparate cultures and engineered impossible infrastructure to dismantle a regime that had destabilized the region for generations. Their mission accomplished, Ram, Sita, and Lakshman board the legendary flying chariot, the Pushpaka Vimana. They move north across the entire continent, rapidly tracing their way back to where the journey began. They arrive in Ayodhya precisely as the 14-year exile expires. The citizens flood the streets, lighting thousands of earthen lamps to welcome them back from the darkness of the wilderness. The promise made 14 years ago is finally fulfilled. To the chanting of Vedic hymns and the roaring approval of his subjects, Ram is crowned king. His ascension triggers an era known as Ram Raja. Under his rule, the kingdom experiences a period of justice, peace, and social harmony that would define the standards of leadership for the subcontinent. The journey that began in a palace and ended on a battlefield was the engine of his transformation. The hardships of the forest and the loss of his wife provided the specific weight needed to temper a monarch capable of ruling with absolute justice. Ram's path from a sheltered prince to an exiled warrior was the exact experience required to create a king.